Hi, I'm Amy Goulet, and this is my presentation on tort liability. Tort liability is the definition of a civil wrong that causes someone else to suffer harm or loss resulting with legal actions where the person is responsible for the act. If an event happens on school grounds, whether school is going on or not, the school can still be held for the consequences. Hi, I'm Amy Goulet, and this is my presentation on tort liability. Tort liability is a civil wrong that causes someone else to suffer harm or loss resulting with legal actions where the person is responsible for the act. If an incident occurs on or in school grounds, even if the school hours are not going on, the school can be held liable for consequences. The first case I found was Frame versus Comax, and it was when a student was being disruptive towards a teacher in the school who happened to be covering another teacher's class. The teacher, Comax, was giving a spelling test. The student was being disruptive, disrespectful, and so Comax, the substitute, the fill-in teacher, they asked the student to leave. The student stood up real slowly, kind of took his time. So the teacher kind of helped him by grabbing his arm and pulling him out of the class, but he fell and hit his back and left some scratches and bruises. The student's parents asked for the teacher to be dismissed, that the principal told them they were not going to do an investigation. When it was taken to the school board, they had found no conclusion for dismissal. The student's parents did file a lawsuit of assault and battery. I feel that my school district probably would have dismissed the teacher first or put him on probation of some sort and then continued on with the investigation, and if found not guilty, then they would have allowed the teacher to come back. I think just training the teachers and substitutes for situations like this when students become too much, where they aren't listening and are being disruptive. I feel this particularly plays an important role with the upper elementary and older students, as you find a little bit more attitudes going on there that kind of interact negatively with yours. The second case I found was defamation with John Fischler. And this case was a PE teacher at a Catholic school where girls were spreading rumors and untrue stories and saying that the PE teacher was touching kids and they were calling him a perv and a creep. The California court ruled in favor of the teacher because there wasn't enough evidence. They found the stories to not be correct, and the teacher was compensated for $363,000. Again, I think my school district would probably put the teacher on probation until they investigated more, just to be on the safe side. Unfortunately, this does happen more often than not with false accusations. As educators, I think being around kids all day, we must be extra sure that we are careful what we say about to the students, about the students, how we interact with them, and the physical touch. For example, hugs. I know, especially as a first grade teacher, my kids are always wanting hugs, but you do have to be careful with the way that you hug them, or if you do a one-arm hug or a two-arm hug, things like that. And defamation is damaging the good reputation of someone else. The third one is Theno versus Tonganoxie Unified School District in Kansas. A kid was being extremely bullied and called many different names perceived to be on sexual orientation. The student was being bullied in school and also at an athletic event. Another teacher overheard them and was accused of laughing at the comments that these bullies were saying. The court did rule in their favor and won $250,000. I would hope that my school would never let this happen, as that's very inappropriate and disrespectful and kind of disgusting. Proactive steps would be to familiarize teachers with bullying and educate them on techniques to prevent this from happening. I feel like bullying is such a very vast word that many people don't necessarily use in the correct way. The fourth one I found was Glacier versus Emporia. The victim was injured while running away from a friend playing a game. It did occur before school and it was unsupervised. Basically, a 7th grader was hit a car on school grounds before school happened. The court ruled in favor of the school since the classes hadn't officially started yet. I'd like to think that our school district would react very similarly as per contract time. If we're not supposed to be there, then we really can't control if it's unsupervised. It's in our contract to be there at a certain time, and if the student was there beforehand, then it's kind of out of our control at that point. But to be proactive, you need to be aware of the potential of things happening before and after school on the property as you're leaving school, everything like that. And the final one is Flanagan versus Canton Central School District. A student was being pushed during PE class while in the locker room. They fell and they suffered injuries that needed emergency surgery for his spleen. The parents sued the school district, saying that the teacher wasn't in the locker room with the student, so that was negligence. But the court ruled this wasn't the case because there was no prior knowledge of the aggressive act. I feel like my school would have done the same reaction through just my own personal experiences, because like I said, I am a 1st grade teacher, so I don't have to deal with that so much. But my personal experiences in locker rooms when I was in school, my teachers were all males, so it wouldn't have been appropriate for them to be down in the locker room anyways, unless they're deemed a reason for it. I think proactively, you need to talk about the protocol in that situation with your teachers, especially if it's different or opposite sexes of teachers to students, as you find that especially common when it comes to PE classes. One of my biggest takeaways would be documentation, and that goes for anything, any grade level, any scenario, just document. These are my references. Thanks.